Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm very happy that you could join us today. Before I welcome today's guests, I'd like to thank our 2025 President's Council sponsors. Now, these are companies that provide a tremendous amount of financial support to the California MBA, in large part so that we can continue to be the strong advocates for the real estate finance industry for the California State Legislature and our regulators. So please join me in thanking this year's President's Council sponsors. And those companies are AmeriHome, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, Wiener Brodsky Kiter, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all so much for your support for our association. And with that, I'd like to welcome today's guests. I'm thrilled to be having speakers and leaders for our Mortgage Innovators Conference on today's podcast. So I'm welcoming Ike Suri and Kevin Peranio, who are serving as our conference co-chairs. Rudy Zabran from Consolidated Analytics and LoanDNA, one of our major sponsors. And of course, our keynote speaker, Neil Sahota, who is the AI advisor to the United Nations. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi there.
Yeah, we are just a few short weeks away from our Mortgage Innovators Conference. I would like to just give everybody a chance to say hello to our listeners and anything that you're thinking about as we lead up to the big Mortgage Innovators Conference.
Really excited about what we're putting together. KP, myself, Rudy, our team with Susan's leadership on MIC, fourth year in a place, expecting it to be a big hit, great attendance and sponsorship already in play, and we've got a month and a half to go. So really gearing up for the action.
And I don't think I'm speaking out of place, Susan, if I say this is probably the youngest show out of all the shows that the California MBA sponsors. And so we've got, we have some shows like Western Secondary that have decades of experience. We've got some other great ones. We've got CREF, and we've got, compliance and servicing and legislative, all this information. We've got Empower events that are going to be part of Mortgage Innovators Conference. We're going to have a great day on Friday. I believe that's May the 9th, the last day there. And we've taken a little pivot this year versus the last couple of years. We have a venue change. So in case you haven't heard, we are on the beach. So we were on the beach at the Waterfront Hotel in Huntington Beach, great location. And we have more tech venture capitalists and, deal makers, and we're having more of a tech showcase. And we have a lot more registered attendees from the C-suite already. It's gained a lot of momentum. So we've been building on the past, Paul, Margaret, Susan, Nick, everyone on the team, Sarah, the list goes on and on. This is going to be our best show yet for sure.
We are very excited about it. And I know, Neil, you were recently at the ICE experience. So I'd love to hear what you thought about the crowd at that event.
It was a fantastic event. Those guys put on a great conference. A lot of great content. But I think the key thing was everyone was talking about AI. It's funny because a year ago, everyone was talking about liability and trying to use AI. And we've done a 180, if you will, where it wasn't not just, well, we got to inject more AI, get more operational efficiency going. But there was a big feeling by many of the players that the industry is behind the curve on some of these things. And so it's not just about trying to play catch up. And ironically, it's not just about automation. Even talking like some of the large lending banks, they're all going like, there's got to be a better way of doing some of the way, we do underwriting, or we do appraisals, or we even do lead sourcing. Why are we looking for that kind of innovation? And that was one of the big topics of conversation.
I think that's what I'm most interested in seeing at this year's, Tech Innovators Conference, right? There was a bunch of great presentations last year, but so much has changed over the last 12 months. Emerging technology, the use of AI, it's happening all over for our space. So just can't wait to see it. Mortgage Innovators, what people are going to have to showcase. Should be great.
It's interesting. Neil brings up a good point because, of course, from my perspective, we deal with what's happened, what proposals in California from a legislative and regulatory perspective. And to your point, there's a lot of, there is a desire for policymakers to kind of rein in artificial intelligence. And I think a year ago, lenders were really more skeptical about how they were going to be using and implementing AI, even though they knew that train was coming and they had to get on board. But what would you all say that is some of the key factors that lenders need to be thinking about right now as they incorporate all these solution providers that are using AI to help them become, efficient and, create a good customer experience in their companies?
I mean, I kick things off. I think you just have to get started. I think the primary thing is getting started. There's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of people that you can freemium trial with and those types of things. But the guys that are waiting are the guys that might be left behind. So at some point, you just have to rip the Band-Aid off and get moving and testing things out. And after you see a little bit of success and you understand what these tools can do, you get the energy to kind of double down.
100%. I think the interesting thing is that the industry is seeing that the regulators are actually advocating the use of AI in certain instances. Like, we did a 3-year study with the HUD around, the underwriting process. And what we actually found in the comparison is that AI is less biased against people of color. So if this is truly a math equation, right, you can have AI just pluck information from the documents and fill in those variables. What we actually found is that the AI was often approving people of color more frequently, and usually at a lower interest rate. And kind of figuring out why is that going. Even if you blind out the name, human loan officers were still making certain inferences about the person's job or where they want to move to, where they currently live. That those factors kind of came into play. And so that, I think, has been one big step. And then now you also have all the push again from the regulators on you should be using AI for fraud detection. Much like we have the banks looking for like money laundering, we know there's a lot of fraud going on, especially with like income statements, bank statements, W-2s. And so I think that's been an interesting kind of shaker for the industry in that while we're worried about liability, what the regulators might say, at the same time, the regulators are actually pushing us towards using AI as a technology.
Totally agree with both of you pointing out the factors, how things have changed. I remember being on panels going back 2-3 years ago, especially us being in the fraud prevention space, and AI, the fear against AI and the resistance it had was nothing different than any other innovation in the past, where concerns, fears, uncertainty trigger all those issues, but they end up being good due diligence, efforts to ensure there's no bias, there's no, red zoning from the past being put into the mathematical equations to have guardrails that prevent the continuing issues, and binary decision making, how it's fed in allows it to be impartial and more accurate. And slowly I've seen over time that it's also taken away the concerns about it's going to replace you versus it's going to aid you. It's not taking your job away, but equip you. I remember using the term a while back that, the industry is so archaic in many different ways in comparison to others, that a lot of folks were sending, folks with skill sets that were for a knife, a knife fight. And today you need Uzis or guns or digital equipment or, cybersecurity tools, and not be sending folks unprepared to going into a knife fight, but versus with the tools they need today to prevent fraud, because fraud is it's changed its form, it changes schemes every day. And as much as the good technology is available for good guys, it's also available easily for the bad guys. So it's in line with what you folks said.
That's a good line from the Untouchables. Never bring a knife to a gunfight.
That's right.
I think it's funny. Everyone just started talking about AI when ChatGPT burst on the scenes, but AI has been around quite a long time. I mean, Google bought DeepMind in 2014, so they've been gathering it. And there's been a lot of jokes along the way, like it's just statistics, it's machine learning, it's just gathering data. But now it's getting beyond that, and large language models are a base. Learning how to speak is a base. Syntax is a base. Now it's starting to do reasoning, and that reasoning will turn into decision making for us in our industry. And it's funny. I watch like these guys, these talking heads on CNBC talk about AI, and this one guy says AGI, and the other guy goes, "Do you know what AGI is?" Because the guy goes, "AGI is like 5 years away," and the guy goes, "Do you even know what AGI means?" And the guy just skipped over because he didn't know, right? And so, generative intelligence is a big deal. For what it's worth, just to share, since we're all sharing here, I just sent off a wire today to invest in an AI company that's in our space, and they do true analysis of documents and underwriting. And it's the second seed round I participated in with a company that legit has AI in their technology. They're also a sponsor of Mortgage Innovator Conference. So I'm a big fan of where AI is going. I'm a big fan of I got to meet with Brian and Arvin, who work at who own Consolidated Analytics, where Rudy's at. And it's really interesting, some of the stuff that they're doing in our space from a technology standpoint. So the timing is really circling where our industry is actually implementing AI, not saying AI just because it's a buzzword and their slogan. But and the timing couldn't be more perfect to have someone who's got years of experience around it, like Neil, to speak to all the leadership and thought leaders at our business.
Yeah, we are very excited to be welcoming you to the Mortgage Innovators Conference. Neil, can you give our listeners just a little bit of information or some highlights on some of the content that you'd like to cover during your keynote?
Sure, I'll tease it out, but if you want the details, you got to come to the conference.
Right.
I'm going to actually talk about what the top 5 use cases are in the industry. So if you're wondering what your competitors are doing or what you should be doing, and some of the tools behind it, I'm going to share some of that. But more importantly, I'm also going to talk about the top reasons why most organizations don't really see any value, or they seem to fail when it comes to using AI. Especially when I've heard this from some of you working with you, that why is it that my competitors are getting all the success from it, yet we can't get anything out of it? And there are some common reasons for that. And those barriers and challenges are a little surprising to people because they seem so kind of obvious in your face, but sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think one of the things that, and I welcome Ike and KP to chime in, but one of the things that I'm really excited about adding to the content this year is a panel of investors. So venture capitalists and private equity companies that are, as KP just noted, they're looking at these solution providers as to what they might want to invest in and see grow in this space. So any other of the sessions that we're featuring this year that anybody would like to point out for our listeners?
Yeah, I think this will be in lieu of MBA dropping their tech conference. And as KP pointed out, we've become the closest second when it comes to having a tech conference. And innovation requires fuel from all different kinds of players, leaders, investors, implementers, the desire from the clientele on how to improve. This particular conference, with the participation of players that are seasoned investors, current participants in the market with their portfolios, is a nice blend of encouraging innovation and fostering innovation. So attendance is going to be crazy. And it's also engaged in a manner where investors that already have portfolios participating in showcasing their new technologies to existing clients coming, and lenders participating, and the board being present, and the cross weaving of invites coming from MISMO from across the country, and of course yourself, Neil, the crowd coming in to listen to what you've got to say, is going to be a very, very good attendance and broadcasted. The product is really well put together that can be showcased by media, by websites, and so on. So really looking forward to it and encourage everybody to come.
Yeah, I would just add, one of the kind of pivots that we made this year as a team at the California MBA is we wanted this to be more than just lenders and vendors, right? We wanted to bring in venture capital. We wanted to recreate a blueprint for success, if you will. And Blueprint is a big show that goes on in Vegas, and it's like an incubator type, show where venture capital, angel investors, seed money, plus burgeoning tech, pre-revenue tech, revenue tech, everyone comes together and tries to figure out how they're going to set each other's roadmap. And not only does that not true, like there's no show that's like intentional, like we are going to put those two together and we're going to purposely invite people from both those spaces, but then also have C-level executives and ITs and CTOs and you name it, anyone with a tech or sales or compliance or risk focus, anything you can put your arms around in tech. We want them all there, and they can watch that interaction. They can watch that interaction between venture capital, like what is an angel investor? What is a seed round? What is a series round? What do you get money for? What do you need it for? And so, there's a lot of stuff like that I think is very fascinating to people that work at lenders and real estate companies as well that want to see this going down right in front of their eyes. And so I think that's another one of the cool things we've added to the show that's going to give it some real legs and staying power.
Well, we get excited about this. We can continue to chat for hours. Just threading on what KP just said reminded me to at least share that, the investors can talk about their experience of what acquisitions they made in the last 2-3 years, why they made them, what the performances look like, and what are they looking for today. And AI is very relevant, and we'd love to hear from them. And I'm sure with your presence, it's definitely going to be focused upon AI.
Yeah.
What have you guys done in the last 12, 18 months? Which investments panned out or not? Which part of the solutions have taken off? Who's active today? And of course, we know CA's Consolidated Analytics got a flavor of infusion of AI and so many solutions. And the rest will be able to contribute as to what clients are looking for. Because the lenders can say, I wish I had something. There's a void, pretty large void when it comes to technology in different parts of the workflows in this industry. So it's going to become very, very interesting to hear from everybody.
We are, of course, very excited to have Neil at the conference, and thank you to Consolidated Analytics for hosting Neil to be a part of the conference. As we have said, as KP had mentioned, we have a great registration full of independent mortgage bankers, a lot of C-level executives, and in large part we're able to keep that strong lender to vendor ratio because this conference is free for lenders. So as Neil said, we can give you a little taste of what we're going to talk about at the Mortgage Innovators Conference, but you have to register to have the experience. So lenders, we invite you to come for free to the Mortgage Innovators Conference and enjoy the larger tech companies that are in the space, but also we're going to be sharing some newer entrants into the market. And I think we've got a great, well-rounded program this year. And thank you all for being a part of the leadership to make this one of the best tech conferences in the industry.
Thank you. We do have TMBA coming. We do have Housing Wire coming. We've got a lot of participants wanting digital mortgage. In fact, there's so many other players in the country trying to collaborate and push the envelope when it comes to California Mortgage Innovators Conference for the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point. So if you are a TMBA member, they also have free registration. So you can reach out to that organization and find out how you can register and join us in May. Gentlemen, I look forward to working with you or seeing you in May at the Mortgage Innovators Conference. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on today's episode. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.